we live? Fingers crossed this is going out to you. As usual, it's not coming up on my feed. Right, hello everyone. Usual deal. I've got a laptop over here set up so I can see some questions. I don't get to see all of them, that's really frustrating, but I can't actually see the feed. So if you can see me and hear me, if you can post something in the comments, and also if you can, there we go, we've got a few of you. It's very frustrating, something that Facebook needs to work on. It doesn't work very well with having a live feed over in the top corner. So fingers crossed this is going through. Hello everyone who's watching. I think there's about 4 of you online right now. Before we get going, if you can let me know that you can hear me, if you can write where you're watching this and tag one friend you think will benefit from watching this session. Danny Malone, see and hear you. It's very, very odd how I can't see my own self. No, that's cool. Faye, hello Faye, how are you? So I'm going to use my phone as well at the same time, just to make sure things are coming across. Okay, we'll get going in about 1 minute time. 1 minute? 1 minute's time. I think that's better English. But yes, please hit the like, love, haha, wow button right now. And tag one person you think will benefit from watching this video, please. We want to get as many people. We've had 14 actually log in live for the last 3 weeks consistently. So that's really cool. I'm happy with that. Facebook are definitely getting somewhere with having this whole setup, very professional setup. But it is frustrating not being able to see whether you guys can see and hear me. Danny has commented. Sean, Ace, Faye, you're great, thank you, brilliant. Hopefully you can all see a banner down here. That's pretty cool, I like that, and a logo up here. Who's got a cocktail with them? I haven't gone for the cocktail today, actually. I think that was last week's, was it? What's the cocktail last week? Just coffee today. Don't get me done for false advertising. Faye, what room, what location are you watching today? Danny, are we outside in the garden? 30 seconds and we will get going. We have 4 questions to go through. 1, 2, 3, 4, ace. We have 4 questions that we're going to go through today. Faye, if you have a question, this is definitely the best time to submit it. Write it right now. Fingers crossed I can see it pop up. Last week I missed quite a few actually. We don't get shown all of them. I don't get shown all of the comments, you see. But if you post it now and I don't answer it before the end, make sure you just keep writing Arj. Can you go scroll back up and find my post, my question, and I'll answer it for you. Steph, how are we doing? If you have a running, fitness, health, nutrition, whatever kind of question, actually post that right now and I'll answer it as best as I possibly can during the next 20 minutes or so. Yes, Kate has put coffee in the dining room whilst painting, multitasking, yep. Decaf coffee for you, Danny, yep. I would say that's about right. I'm going very heavily caffeinated. I went to bed at a decent time, not particularly early, but a decent time yesterday, and then woke up at 2 and pretty much stayed awake from 2 until about, I don't know, just before 6. Got an hour at 6 though, so I'm good. Do enjoy the coffee though. Faye, you're in the conservatory, that's nice. It's warm, isn't it? Can't believe I'm doing this indoors today, but just with everything that you've probably seen, Kate said, I'm covered in paint. You probably can't see that from here. But we have been painting the dining room. You did week 5, session 3 early. Yes! Right, I want to have your questions actually. It came up earlier, Faye, that you posted in the group, but then it looked like the message had been deleted. So if you have a question that I haven't answered, or just a comment about it, do post it and I'll get back to you. I'm going to post this first question that we've had come in. This is a question from Instagram. So hopefully this is going to pop up on your screen. I think it depends if you're watching on an iPhone or a mobile device or a laptop. For me, it pops up here normally. I don't know where it's going to come up. I've got a phone here. I am hoping the question will come up. The question is, Ed, anyway, what's the deal with intermittent fasting? So, intermittent fasting, can we see that? Can anyone see the question pop up? I'm hoping it does, just like last week. That was very cool last week when it came up. I'm not convinced it's popping up on your screen. Anyway, I will start answering this question. What is the deal with intermittent fasting? Intermittent fasting isn't some kind of magic pill, okay? Intermittent fasting isn't something which is totally different, which is going to be a game changer and will mean that you automatically lose weight or anything like that. And, suddenly you increase your muscle mass or increase your life expectancy. That's kind of so cool. I think it's popped up on your screen now. I've just got a notification that I've sent a question out. So basically, a certain doctor on TV who doesn't know very much about nutrition and those kind of things publicised intermittent fasting, and he publicised it in the wrong way because he didn't quite understand what he was talking about. There is a lot of interesting research around intermittent fasting. And a lot of this interesting stuff we don't actually really know anything about, other than there's a couple of studies which did show certain markers which could potentially affect some kind of genetic traits. That's it. You can't comment on life expectancy or testosterone or anything like that because we simply don't know enough at this moment in time. However, most people, particularly on Instagram, these Facebook training gurus, will like to publicise intermittent fasting as something which will help you lose weight because you only eat between these certain hours. There's lots of different strategies. There's the 16-8, the 5-2. To be honest, it's just a number relating to an eating window and a fasting window. So eating window being 8 hours in duration where you can consume all of your foods, and then 16 hours where you can't consume anything at all. Usually you schedule that overnight because you're spending half of that in bed, aren't you? 8 hours sleep, that's what we're all getting, I'm sure. The only kind of way this affects weight loss is via a calorie deficit. You're reducing your opportunity to effectively consume calories. That's it. It's not like eating between these windows of time create anything else magical other than opportunities to eat and times when you just can't access food. And obviously when you can't access food, you're not increasing your calories, and therefore it's an opportunity to burn more calories than you're consuming. Emma, how are you doing? How is Darmstadt today? Is it nice and sunny? So, intermittent fasting is a great tool. If you're someone like me who has food availability and just wants to consume all of it, then absolutely intermittent fasting does work. I'm someone who generally wouldn't eat breakfast until lockdown. Lockdown, I eat all the breakfasts. I'm having toast, granola, mid-morning yogurt. I'm having it all. If I get to midday without having chocolate, then I've succeeded. The chocolate's run out now, so we've got a serious issue there. But normally I wouldn't eat breakfast. That doesn't impact my health in any way. It just reduces an opportunity for me to consume calories. If you like eating breakfast, eat breakfast. Intermittent fasting is just about reducing food availability. And it doesn't do anything else for weight loss other than that. Right, if that was interesting, please everyone hit the like, love, wow button. Emma, tag someone in this video who would benefit from listening or watching even. The sun is out here. So we've got 6 online. It's our smallest audience yet. So let's see if we can get a few more people in here. It would be nice to have 14 people watching live 4 weeks on the trot. That would be very cool. All right, let's close that question. Hopefully that has been useful to you all. Intermittent fasting. Our next one, it's interesting actually, there's clearly a relation to what we're going through at the moment and its effect on consuming calories. I know it's affecting me. Rachel, hello. It's nice to see you here, Rachel. So, next question. Hopefully this will pop up on your screen in a second. Claire, you've asked a question as well. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to answer this question first, then Claire, I will answer yours straight after. It's very frustrating, everyone, that I can't see who's online. I can't see all of your questions, and I can't see myself on the screen. Facebook, get to grips with this, please. But if you are watching and I haven't said hello to you, good manners means I will always say hi, so just say hi in the comments and hopefully that one will come through. I know I had a couple of my athletes, young junior athletes watching last week and I didn't get the message, so that was a shame. So Claire, I'll come to your question in a second. Annabelle, hello. Next question. Oh, it's gone straight up with yours, Claire. Hopefully this will work. I've eaten loads of CR*P. I'm going to say crap during lockdown. How should I lose the weight? I suppose I can't eat it anymore. Okay, so yeah, lockdown period. This is kind of linking very closely to the fact that we were just talking about intermittent fasting and food availability. So I've eaten loads of crap during lockdown. How should I lose the weight? Suppose I can't eat it anymore. Basically, during lockdown, the fact that we're basically working and stuck within meters of food, and it's our own food, it's not food that belongs to someone else, or office snacks, which is kind of mutual, so you have that kind of embarrassment of helping yourself again and again to food. No, it's my food, I'm going to do whatever I want with it. That basically creates this food availability problem and entitlement almost, that you can help yourself at any point. I buy the food so I can consume it, right? And as soon as you open that door, that cupboard, whatever it is, and you start consuming that food, it gets very, very difficult to stop at that point. Particularly if we have this self-sabotage mindset of, well, I've started now, I might as well carry on. I struggle with that as well, so don't worry if you do. First things first, this is not the time to be dieting, really. This is a time about reducing any stress you can, maximizing opportunities to move when you can, because it's difficult when you're in a house or a flat to get steps in. So if you have exercise opportunities like we do at the moment in the UK, then do go ahead and make the most of them when it's safe to do so. Encourage you to build some accountability, whether that's accountability within your household, whether that's accountability within your friends, or you join a group like we have. We have a small accountability group where we run the 4 weeks, 4 kilos program every now and again. We were going to launch one at spring, but there is no point in me doing that. I do not advocate dieting really during this period. It's just too stressful. But once we finish and we kind of get away from the pandemic a little bit, maybe we'll run that. But the Performance Physique Training Hub is basically a place for accountability. So build that into your life. Have some accountability of how much food you're consuming and what kind of snacks you're consuming, all that kind of stuff. And also, just look at your opportunities to not eat. So think of the intermittent fasting one I mentioned a second ago. Maybe it's a case of, okay, I don't really feel hungry when I get up in the morning. Maybe I'm getting up a little bit later in the morning and that's subduing my hunger. Because I don't have this routine of getting up, ramming a load of breakfast in, and then just getting out the door. Maybe I don't need to have that rush at the moment. So limit those opportunities first thing in the morning, saving 200, 300 calories for later on. And not really punishing yourself for when you do consume those foods. Just be mindful of, right, am I eating because I'm eating and I want to have the sensation of chewing something? If so, I always recommend this to the 4 weeks, 4 kilos group. Kate and Emma will vouch for this. I always forget what they're called. The gherkins. There's a term for those kind of foods. Gherkins and cucumbers. That come in like the vinegary thing. Emma or Kate, help me out there. Post it in the comments. But basically, these foods that come in the jars, these ones, you all know, you're all screaming at me, I'm sure. These basically have such little calories. They're highly palatable because they're quite salty. And they're obviously giving you the sensation of chewing something. But because they're so salty, you can't actually consume an awful lot of them. So these tend to be really good things to have available for you. Pickled! Yes, Danny, thank you. Pickled foods. I was struggling so much. I did that last time during, I think it was the last 4 weeks, 4 kilos program on the live introduction. I think it was. So yeah, get some pickled foods in your house if you struggle with it. And the last part of your question, suppose I can't eat it anymore. No, you can diet consuming anything. That was the magic behind 4 weeks, 4 kilos, was basically teaching you, educating you that you can pretty much lose weight consuming anything you want. It's just about the calorie content that you're consuming. That doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy, but there is then an argument between the impact of losing weight on health and the impact of junk food basically on health. But that's a whole nother discussion. So hopefully that has been useful. Keep pressing share, tagging friends, like, love, haha. We're at 8, 9 people watching live, so really good if we can get back up to that level. Claire, I'm going to come to your question now. I haven't even read this ahead, so I hope I can answer it in some means. How is everyone actually, by the way? I always like to start these things off with a question, because I'm doing this because of lockdown, and it's become a little bit of a habit. It's become an enjoyable habit. I really like helping people. I like speaking to camera, and I like speaking to more and more people out there. So how is everyone coping with lockdown? Family's okay? Are we finding it a bit stressful? Pop it in the comments if you're happy to do so. Right, hopefully. Hey Lloyd, long time no see. How are you doing? If you have a question, Lloyd, nutrition, health, running, fitness, whatever, pop it in the comments. I'll do my best. So Claire asks, I hope you're still there, Claire, as well. Claire asks, how can I alter my body clock so I don't keep waking up at 4 a.m. as though we're still at swim training? Man, Claire, I'm one of the worst people to talk about sleep hygiene. That's what it's called, sleeping patterns. I'm actually atrocious for it. Kate will without a doubt vouch. I have my good days or my good periods probably and bad periods. There's basically a genetic DNA, part of the genetic code that they believe shows that there's a family link between requirement for sleep. So I'm pretty certain that I'd have this because my dad doesn't really sleep. My dad will go a whole day off 3 hours, and I'm pretty much the same, which does also limit my attention to it, because I basically know I can get away with consuming less food. Get away with, that's really weird that I talked about food then. I can get away with less sleep and therefore not necessarily worry about it too much. In terms of athletes and stuff like that, that is a big concern. A kind of setting up a routine, evening routine can help. It's very difficult for you, or you guys really, because you've done this 4 a.m. wake up so much for swim training, to then get out of it takes quite a long time as well. I would really hammer home the creating the most relaxing and dark environment possible. So the routine before bed being like a yoga session, 4-minute morning video, or like a yoga with Adrian. There's pretty much no online exercise videos or people that I would ever vouch for. That was the whole reason I basically started 4-minute mornings, because they were all awful. Other than yoga with Adrian, I think it's fantastic. Someone who actually does it well. Yeah, pretty much the only one. And that, when I was very stressed working, I found that really useful to de-stress me. You've got dogs as well, use them to help you calm down. And then basically creating a really dark environment. So if you have blackout blinds, they're really useful. Using the monotony of a podcast voice, you've got to choose the right podcast, there's loads of sleep ones. And also the kind of habit forming things of, yeah, I'm going to watch or do yoga with Adrian, then I have my shower, then I put the podcast in, then I lie there and I spend 15-20 minutes, all of those kind of things to help you get to sleep. And then gradually you find that you build this habit of going to sleep. The thing about the next day, waking up early, a lot of things I've read have been about managing your concerns and tasks for the next day ahead of schedule. So again, this is not my area of expertise, but I have read a little bit about it, purely because of the fact I don't really sleep a lot. And that you can write a list in the evening of what you want to do the next day, or what you need to do, and you prioritize it, and that really helps manage any stress the night before. But as far as the kind of routine of I always get up at this time, it takes a while. I had a job actually where I was in a corporate job, and it basically meant I got home very late, and I would leave incredibly early in the morning. Sometimes, 3 something, I'd be gone already in the car. And it took me about 12 months to alter that routine, but might just be an extreme case. Sorry, Claire, if I wasn't able to offer you much other than those tips that you've probably seen already. Stop baking. Is that for me? Is that for me or is that for you? Stop baking. No, Kate has to continue baking. She's making some lovely food and I'm consuming lots of it. Right, next question, everyone. So we've had, how can I alter my body clock? What's the deal with intermittent fasting? I've eaten loads of crap. We've had all of those questions so far. If they've been useful, hit the like, love, ha button. Tag someone that you feel will benefit from it. Livia, hello Livia. And Kate's written, I love a list. Yeah, Kate, when I was saying that actually, I was thinking of you. Nikki, hello Nikki. Livia, where are you watching from? Are you in the garden? Right, this question is really interesting. I've got this question and one more question. And actually, Faye, you've popped in a question in there as well. I will go and have a look at that in a second as well, Faye. Remind me, say Arj, go scroll back and answer my question for me. So this question says, should I increase my protein? Heard it's bad for my kidneys. This is a really interesting question because this comes up an awful lot. And it stems from some absolute rubbish research. Just because something has been researched, it doesn't mean it's reliable, it doesn't mean it's any good, it doesn't mean that the people who did the research have any kind of qualification or right to publish such a major statement. But protein has this ridiculously bad kind of context around damaging your kidneys, in which it does not, okay? I love the word caveat, and this gives me an opportunity. So the caveat behind this is that If you have a clinical condition around kidney function, even though there's loads of research which has shown kidney function being downregulated, so CKD, and still maintaining protein intake way above the recommended guidance, it's still recommended from me to you that you must consult your clinical dietitian or the practitioner who's looking after you. It shouldn't be a nutritionist, it should be a clinical dietitian who specialises in that area. It's always good to be aware of your scope of practice. But in terms of understanding the literature, protein does not affect the kidneys of a healthy individual in a negative way at all. Basically, the recommendation that's publicised everywhere is 0.6 to 0.8 grams of protein per kilo of body mass, which is shockingly low. It is horrendously low, and basically means that you are in a deficiency the entire time. If you're working with someone or if I was working with someone who's completely sedentary, doesn't do anything, doesn't need to lose weight, I would consider 1 to 1.2 being an absolute minimum. If they were then, say, above 50, I would be increasing that protein intake to protect them in their long term from falls. Falls is obviously the major concern for those who, when they get to over 70s, it's quite debilitating really, falls leading to pelvis fractures and all that kind of thing, which doesn't always bode well for long-term health really. So you can fight this quite early on. You increase their protein intake. This basically improves their muscle protein synthesis. So basically, just by consuming some protein, you can trigger the body to develop some muscle mass. It's not going to do it as well as exercise does, but it's something. And that reduces sarcopenia. So sarcopenia is basically what happens in the elderly who don't exercise, don't consume much protein, and basically they reduce their muscle mass. That leads to a fall, and the fall leads to more ill health, and we don't want that. So basically, consume more than the recommended amount from WHO and NHS of 0.6 to 0.8, because that's rubbish. Everyone realistically who hasn't got a clinical condition, can't emphasize that enough, that is my disclaimer, should be consuming well above 1.2 grams per kilo. If you're an endurance athlete, I'd be throwing that right up to 1.6 grams. If you're Danny, we'll get my daily protein cocktail now then. Yes, Danny, I'm pretty sure we had a discussion of this well, not really a discussion, but we had a very brief conversation at the start of your training program for ramping up the protein intake and cocktail intake. But basically, by increasing this protein intake for endurance athletes, we enable them to recover faster, and for those who are in strength or muscle or power-based sports, their protein intake needs to be much higher. I've gone as high as 2.2 grams per kilo of body mass, but it really depends on the sport. I can't give you a generic amount purely because we have to take into consideration everything you do. There's obviously detrimental effects of having to reduce carbohydrate to make up for the increase in protein without you increasing body weight, which is important. There is some really interesting research which basically shows that if you want someone to lose weight, you increase their protein to up to 2.5 grams per kilo of body mass, and then account for it with the rest of their calories. So you drop their calories, but that's a whole nother ball game. Basically, yes, pretty much all of us can do with increasing our protein intake as long as we don't have a clinical reason not to, so issue with kidneys, and it won't affect your kidneys. You can go find some really good literature on that as well. Right, I hope that has been useful. We had 10 people on. Claire says, sod's law, I'll break the routine just as he's about to restart training. I know, seeing some of those things coming up. Right, so Faye, let's find your question. Faye. What are 20-meter strides? Shall we see if we can put that up here? Hopefully this will come up on the screen for you. What are 20-meter strides. Danny, shall I get you to answer this one? Danny is one of our athletes. He's pretty much broken every PB he has in the last... Oh, is it coming up to 9 months actually now, Danny? I'm not sure. So hopefully you can all see this question popping up. What are 20-meter strides? So strides are basically a way of improving running technique. It's running a little bit faster than you would for a jog, and that allows you to improve your running technique. So you're thinking a bit of a knee lift. You're making sure that your leg goes all the way around the cycle. So I can drop this a little bit. So you basically get this position, your toes point upwards, they cycle all the way around, and then you have that heel coming right up at the top of your bum. And it's basically making sure that you try and get as near to that cycle as you possibly can. Strides are, Danny said 10 months. I wasn't far off, eh? Strides are the thing that we practice with a little bit more speed to try and build a habit of how you should strike the floor as you run. So 20-meter strides basically means, I think I put, was it 4 to 6 reps of this for you? Yeah, I think it was 4 to 6 reps, Faye, of 20 meters. So you get somewhere roughly 20 meters. You know, if it's 15, it's 15, doesn't matter, does it? And you go out a little bit faster, lift those knees, make sure you plant that foot, mid-foot landing on the ground, and you just think about your technique. You do your 20 meters, turn around, do 20 back, turn around, do 20, turn around, do 20, and that's your 4 done there and then. I hope that answers your question, Faye. If you have another one, post it very quickly, because we're going to get on to the last question. 4 to 6, yes. Good memory, Arj. Cool, right. This question is from Annabelle. Hello, Annabelle. You were tuned in a minute ago. You might be watching on Danny's account. I don't know. But Annabelle says, what are the best exercises to mobilize the lower back before a run? So, Annabelle, lower back pain is very often, I'd probably say 7 out of 10 times, caused by a bit of tightness around your glutes, around your basically it's not actually your lower back 7 out of 10 times. Maybe in your QL or your TFL, these are things around here. But basically what you need to think of is treat it like a bit of a broad approach, as opposed to, right, I'm going to do this stuff on my back to help mobilize. First one being a figure 4 stretch. So that's leg over the other leg, roll back, take a deep breath in, draw your knee to your chest and hold it. That's a great stretch, probably my favorite one. Then looking at glute bridges, making sure that you don't push your hips too high, you just get your hips level. That's really good for activating your glutes, so then they're actually firing and working a little bit so the stress doesn't travel up your spine. Going into some knee drops. So I think we did this on our session, our online session, possibly, Belle. So sitting down, hands either side of your body, knees dropping to the middle, opening up and dropping to the other side. That's really important. Going into pigeon pose if you can, so that's with your front leg like that. Your back leg looks like it's in a lunge and you're trying to lower your hips down to the ground. You will often find that this is too much if you have lower back pain and you need to just basically increase your duration of figure 4 stretch to build into the pigeon pose. You can Google all of these, but I'm also releasing them all through the Exercise Vault on YouTube. So if I remember, I'll try and pop them up. And then scorpions. So scorpions are really good for lower back mobility. You basically lie on your front, head down, arms outstretched. So I would have my body effectively in a T position on the floor like this, and I would try and rotate my right heel up to my left hand. It might only get to about here, but it might come all the way up here. It really depends on your actual mobility. You might not be able to touch the floor or the surface or anything like that. It's just getting used to that motion of side to side. I probably do something like 12 reps, so 6 each side, have a little rest, then repeat 2 more times. But those few exercises can do an awful lot. I would also look to mobilize your hip flexors, so get into your hip flexor stretch, lunge position, walk that front leg forwards, drive your knee over your toes, opening the gap on the opposite leg's hip flexor. That's the hip flexors right in here, just in that part there. But those few stretches and those few movements can do an awful lot in a very short period of time. I do have a SI dysfunction routine. I will see if I have that recorded anywhere, Annabelle. If I do, I will send you that video link if I have one. If not, I need to get busy and record one, because it's a really good routine that basically helps. Another one actually. Find yourself a wall like this one. This one's Feather Pillow by Dulux. We're just painting it downstairs. Arm across. Take your near leg, so for me it's my right leg, and take that around the front of my left leg and push my hips into the wall. This is lovely, so I'm just going like that, opening up the gap in my hip. You'll find that if you get a sharp pain, you're pushing too much because your tightness is just too extreme at that point. So it might be that you just need to do a 60-second hold like that for the time being, and then gradually push those hips closer and closer to the wall. Annabelle, Danny, whoever is watching, I hope that's useful. Say right now if you have any other questions or if that was rubbish. Everyone, if I can ask you one more time, please, if you are finding this information useful, valuable, please hit like, love, haha, or tag a friend or share this on your page. I'm really trying to communicate to as many people as possible that we can really help from Performance Physique. Something very exciting is happening at the moment, which will hopefully see our exposure grow an awful lot. You just need to keep posted over the next few weeks, because as soon as I'm allowed to say anything about it, that will be useful. Danny says she's leaning on the wall now. I hope that's to do with the stretch and not for she's given up on whatever it is, the stress of being in lockdown with you, Danny. Always going running, so much energy. Right, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments right now. I'm going to give you 90 seconds to pop any questions, and it can be to do with anything you want. I actually found, I posted, I think it's 2 weeks ago now, a week and a half, quite a few little cocktails just on my personal page. This wasn't on my business page or anything. Quite a few cocktails I've been having, celebrating my birthday, that's why. And for the next 4 days, the most questions I had popping up, rather than exercise related, were all to do with those cocktails. Saying they look amazing. What is this one? What is this one? How do I make this one? So that was quite cool. Right, I'm going to have a scroll through the comments here, because I don't want to miss. I missed something like 4 or 5 comments last week. I don't want that to happen again. But if you have any other questions, post them now. Maxine, how are you doing? Kev, how are you doing? I'm very glad to see a lot of faces that I haven't seen for a while actually tuning in. We've hit 10 today. Not the 14 that we've had on the last 3 weeks, which is a shame, but I really appreciate you guys tuning in and asking these questions. It's what I really enjoy doing. It also means I'm not having to gloss at the moment in the dining room. Claire Finley. Hello to you. I hope you're keeping well. Sam, how are we doing? How is business? You have been doing some great stuff. Well done. Where is everyone watching? Right, now we're talking. Let's do 2 minutes of mixology and bartending discussion. Let's do this. Danny Malone, crushed ice or cubes for cocktails? Right, it depends on the cocktail you are making. Generally, if you use crushed ice, it needs to go in the glass last minute. Otherwise, it's going to wash out, dilute your drink, and it won't taste quite right. Most things actually requires cubed ice. Mojitos, obviously, you're going to want crushed. I think maybe we still even have it. We used to have an ice crusher. It was useless and just basically gave up with it. Just bought the crushed ice anyway. But things like mojitos, yes, crushed ice. But other than that, always get cubes. Even caipirinhas, which I think when I first ever had one, I called a caipiriani, which much to the amusement of my mate, who was the bartender at the time. But even the caipirinha is actually traditionally served ice cubes in Brazil, not crushed ice. So you've got to try that. Until you've tried that, it doesn't really count as an experience. Right, any other questions? Oh yeah, I actually didn't go through all these comments. I'll just make sure I haven't missed any. No. Has that been useful for you all, by the way, guys? I want to see you all talking about increasing your protein intake. I want to see you making those lists before bed. I don't know if I can actually see who's watching online or not. Let's have a little scroll up here. No, I can't. Right, 30 more seconds, then I'm shooting to go and go and do a little bit more decorating. We're hosting a quiz for my brother and his mates this evening, which is going to be lots of fun. I imagine most people have been doing Zoom quizzes and all that kind of stuff lately. It's lots of fun, socialising more than ever, I think. 20 seconds. Oh. I do apologise if I have got paint over my face and arms. I've only got a little bit on my arms. Did a good job washing that off. Ten more seconds. I'll allow the delay to get to you because I know there's about a 1 minute delay between you and I. And then you guys need to disappear. Go and make the most of the sun if you have the luxury of a garden or a balcony or something like that to do so. It's really important that we do as much as we possibly can. Actually, yeah, everyone, consider your vitamin D intake. Some interesting research is coming out around vitamin D and coronavirus. You can't make any judgments without like a load of research articles. But there is some kind of suggestion linking the two. Linking the two in the positive way, that is, that vitamin D3 has some kind of reduction in the onset of coronavirus chances. But obviously, it being a virus, it will always take charge. It will just be a very, very small, minute thing. But the fact that vitamin D3 is so effective for human beings anyway, it's worth considering what your intake is. Remember, vitamin D3 does have a toxicity level though. Right, I'm going to go. Everyone, if this has been useful, please, please, please share it with your friends. I look forward to seeing you all next week. I'm going to try and do another one of these in the week if I get time, because I want to try out some other software which will put us on YouTube at the same time. Does that sound good if we went on YouTube as well, rather than requiring people to have a Facebook account? Sam, if you're still watching, you do this regularly, so I'd be interested to know what you're using. I imagine it's quite possibly the same things I'm running at the moment, but be always interested. Right, everyone. Thank you very much. A few hearts came up there. Thank you very, very, very much. It does really mean the world to me, you know, the fact that you are publicising this for me, you are sharing this with your friends, you are tagging people in the comments. I do love it. If you have questions over the next week, make sure you send me a message, drop them in the comments, wherever you pop them. I will make sure I pick them up and I'll do my best to cover them next week's episode, which will be... It'll probably be in the morning next week, so it'll be more fitting for a coffee rather than a cocktail. But who am I to judge? We're in lockdown. Right, everyone, have a great day. I'm off. Stay safe. Save lives, protect the NHS. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.